Hey everyone, welcome back to NTI Day 3. Your 7th grade math team are hoping that everything's going great at home. If there's anything that we can do to help, just shoot us a message through Google Classroom or email and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Make sure you go ahead, if you can, grab a piece of paper, notepad, scratch pad of some sort, and have that by your side with a pencil so that when we work through this stuff that you're actually putting it to memory and learning it. All right, let's go ahead and move to number 1. It says, assign a number from 0 to 1 to the likelihood of the events below. Your math teacher is older than you. So 0 being impossible, and 1 being certain, I would give that a certain. We're all older than our students, so we will go ahead and give that a 1. Moving to 1B, it says, it will snow in Denver in the winter. Well, Denver's on top of a mountain and has higher elevation, so the weather patterns are, can be a little bit more predictable when it comes to snow. We are going to give that a 1 as well. It is certain that Denver will see snow in the winter. Let's go ahead and jump to 1C. It says, flipping a tails on a coin. When looking at a coin, there are two options. There are heads and tails. And we know the probability of flipping a tails at this point should be 1/2. Now, available also as possible answers is the different forms of 1/2. You could have 0.5, and you get that from doing the numerator divided by the denominator. Or you can write a percent, and then to get a percent, you just take your decimal, multiply by 100, or move it 2 decimal spaces to the right. That gives you 50%. Any of these 3 answers should be possible answers in your starter this today, so you choose. All right, 1D kind of made me think a little bit harder on. It said, using a vowel in a word, I need to assign a number from 0 to 1. Now, I'm no language arts whiz, but I just kept thinking of different words, and I could not think of a single word that did not have a vowel in it. Now, if you comment on this post with a word that has only consonants and no vowels, we'll give you 5 extra credit points on this lesson. And the first person to use a word, if you copy a word and you post later, that obviously will not count. But I'm going to give that a 0. I have not found a word that does not have a vowel in it. I'm sure there's something I'm overlooking, but I'm going to call that impossible for now until you can prove me wrong. All right, let's go ahead and jump to number 2. It says, if the spinner below is spun 500 times, how many times can you expect it to land on B? Well, that's a prediction problem, and like the last couple of days, I just want to remind you there's nothing on the math reference card about predictions, so you're going to have to use these as reference as we work through. We're going to start with the probability of B being chosen. Well, when we look at the spinner, we know there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spots, and then out of those there are 4 Bs. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we could either use 4/8 or 1/2 because we know 4/8 simplifies to 1/2. I prefer the simplified version, but I know a lot of you all won't quite move to that step. So we're just going to go ahead and use 4/8 and just use it. Now, since we know 4/8 is 1/2, we know that out of 500, we're going to spend 1/2. Half of them will be B's. So a lot of you all are thinking, like, why am I even writing this work? Setting up your problems and getting practice doing that is half the battle in math. I know that there are going to be mental problems throughout this entire unit that you'll be able to do mentally. You'll be able to do that. But you'll want to make sure that you're trying to show your work and set problems up so that when you get to something that's not as much mental math but more on paper math, you're able to do that. So I said in previous lessons my favorite way of solving this problem is to set up a proportion, 500, and then x, because it says 4 out of 8 times we'll hit a B, so how many times out of 500? There are a couple methods to solving this one. We can cross multiply. 500 times 4 is 2,000. 8 times x is 8x. We need to solve this one-step equation by removing the 8 on this side. We'll do that using inverse operations. This says 8 times x, so we're going to divide by 8 and divide by 8. X equals 250 times. So we are done. While I think this is the cross multiplying in this situation is the best method because I don't know the scale factor, you can still use a scale factor here. So 4/8 equals x over 500. And again, if you wanted to use 1/2 here, it would be a little bit easier. 8 to 500, a scale factor would be 62.5. And then 4 times 62.5 gets us the same answer of 250 times. All right, guys, stay safe at home. Take care of your younger brothers and sisters, and we'll see you soon.